If this goes on, don't panic. Bringing hope to the world through speculative fiction.
Hello and welcome to our audio column, Publishing in Africa. As always, I'm joined by Mr. Oghenechovwe Donald Ekpeki. Before we get started, though, I just want to tell the audience I am using a new recording program and a new microphone. So if things are a little bit off, I promise I will try to get that better for next time. Although I have checked levels and stuff. We'll see how this goes. So Oghenechovwe, as always, thank you so much for going on. How are you doing? How's your time in the U.S. been?
Yeah, I'm fine. It's been it's been here and there, both good and other things. So yeah, like life, I guess.
Yeah, right. So you've been around a little bit now. You were in Chicago for a little bit, and then you were in California for a bit, right? And you're going to Canada soon. Is that right?
No, not Canada. I'm supposed to be the guest of honor for ChiCon. But that's virtual guest of honor, not physically.
Right. Well, that's cool. Congratulations on being the guest of honor. I mean, and I know people have said this before, and I probably have too, but honestly, you've had a meteoric rise through science fiction at this point. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, thank you.
So, I know we wanted to talk about the Hugos a lot. You and I were both there. So you had a rough time getting there. Do you want to talk about that at all, or do you feel like you're done with that?
I mean, I could talk about it. After I got my visa, I got my second visa interview on a Friday, like the appointment. The interview itself was on a Monday. Then I got my visa on a Tuesday. Then I had to travel on a Wednesday. Then I missed my flight. I had to rebook another one for Thursday, by which time the event had already started, and fly throughout the day and arrive on a Friday. So the scheduling was very, very tight.
Yeah.
The flights were super expensive, which I guess everybody knows. If you're booking flights that close to the flying date, it's super expensive. So they were super exorbitant, and I was trying to prepare everything. But I had no choice, of course, because, I mean, I had just gotten my visa the day before. I only had about 24 hours to fly, to both book my flight and fly. I mean, there's the whole issue of getting a visa, which is a tale that, it's a tale by itself. So
yeah, you had Neil Gaiman involved at one point. You had several senators
there was
involved,
everybody. It was the entire community, the WorldCon, the SFWA, Neil Gaiman, John Scalzi. It involved politicians, both across the Democrat and Republican divide. After my first visa interview was denied, so I got the second one with barely enough time. Even interviews aside, just getting a date, it takes more than 2 years to get a visa appointment, like normally. So me getting one within months to the WorldCon is in itself a miracle.
Yeah.
Practically an impossibility. So, but that's the system. You have to work against all the impossibilities.
Yeah.
So yeah, the trip itself was backbreaking.
Yeah.
I flew for over 24 hours. When I got here, I was dead tired.
Yes,
I wasn't just tired. I was exhausted and probably a little sick. So I got down and I had to start figuring things out because I was alone. Actually, when I got down from the plane, I had to face immigration again. I had to do a whole explanation of my purpose, why I was here, what I wanted to do. Basically, the whole visa interview process again.
Yeah.
And I already had a visa. I already had a valid visa, but I had to be interrogated, go through all that. Then when I was done, I was lugging my bag, and I mean, I lost my luggage during the trip, missed flights, everything.
Yeah.
Then I had to, yeah, when I landed, I found my luggage in Chicago. My luggage was shipped with the first flight down here. So I picked it up. I went through immigration. Then I had to figure out how to get to the WorldCon hotel. My internet was bad. You know, and I was in a new place for the first time. And yeah, so, but anyways, not rocket science. If I've come across, half the world, getting to a hotel wouldn't be the. I had already missed a whole day, and I was halfway into the second day. So I wanted to immediately try to, get into my panels and see if I was dead exhausted.
Yeah.
My eyes were bloodshot. I couldn't feel some parts of my body, but, I wanted to make the most of it. So I didn't even want to just lay down and let the second day pass me by. After all, people crowdfunded for me to be here, so they deserve to see. I had done a crowdfunding drive for the trip, but it was insufficient, let me put it like that. So I'm having to do another crowdfunding drive now to mop up the expenses, leaving the continent for the West. It's a little bit more expensive than you would normally anticipate. So yeah, I went to register. Then I got a message from the WorldCon organizers that they had received death threats. They had received threats from anonymous bodies who said they were going to come to the WorldCon and shoot up the place. Me and someone else, Patrick Tomlinson, so that I should come see them so that we can discuss with hotel security on how to, make sure everything was okay and safe. So I
Yeah,
don't know. I
that's
think I didn't even see that message that day. I registered, I did a reading, people showed up, I had discussions, I met some people, then I now went to meet the hotel security after that, and they showed me the emails and the threats, and so yeah.
wow. That's pretty intense. I didn't know about any of that stuff until after I had left the conference. Now, I didn't leave on what was the last day? The last day was a Tuesday, I think. No, I left on the last day in that morning. That's right. And I didn't hear about that until a couple days later when I think Patrick Tomlinson said something about it. That's
Yeah.
pretty crazy, man. But I seems like the conference and the hotel did a pretty good job with it.
Oh yeah, they did.
How did you like WorldCon? I mean, what was it? Was it what you expected? And what were the best parts for you?
I mean, death threats aside, WorldCon was amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, there's the whole incident that led to the WorldCon. So the reception for me was amazing. It was overwhelming.
Mhm.
I met a lot of people who were happy to see me, because we basically just fought a whole ass fight for me to get there. Like
Mhm.
it was the genre, it was the industry against the system, against immigration. So it was a collective triumph. That moment, me being there, it didn't just belong to me, it belonged to everybody. So the reception was very warm. Everybody was happy to see me. I mean, not everybody, of course, but, as far as I know, lots of people were happy. They were welcoming. I took a lot of pictures. The panels were superb. My readings, my autograph sessions, Lots of people showed up. There was the gallery place. They had amazing art. It's my first WorldCon experience, and it was amazing. As far as I'm concerned, it was worth it. It was worth the effort. It was worth the war. It was, worth the fight to get there.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that we should have to fight that hard, because everybody else, there didn't have to go through that. So
Right. Yeah, not at all. For me, it was just a long drive. But yeah, WorldCon is an amazing conference. It is just so huge and so just packed with interesting people. I went with a buddy of mine. This is the first conference he ever went to, period. And we're walking around. He's just like, oh my God, that's, I don't know, someone famous. Oh my God, that's another writer I love. That's, oh my God, that person's so and so. His mind was just blown. And then I did an interview with Ellen Datlow, and he was just like, he's a huge Ellen Datlow fan. And he was just like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm in the same room with Ellen Datlow.
exactly, that's how I felt as well.
That's amazing. That's so awesome. So, how did you feel about the Hugo nominations? You were nominated for multiple categories, and in my opinion, two of the toughest categories, including novelette and short fiction editor. And just as one example, in short fiction editor, you were up against Neil Clark, Cherie Renee Thomas, S.B. Divya, and Mur Lafferty, and Sheila Williams, and I think Jonathan Strand was the last one. Just like so many people have made such a huge difference in the conference. Like everybody was deserving of a win. So like, how did that hit you?
Okay, first of all, it was an honor. It was an immense honor to be nominated, to be in a crowd like that. The Hugo Award are practically the most prestigious speculative fiction awards in the world for going on, 70 years now. And it was a huge honor. I just wish that there were more people like me on the award shortlist. More people like me got to make finalists. As a matter of fact, my presence on the ballot on the shortlist was a first. Coming from where I am, I was the first Black person alongside Cherry Rennie Thomas to be nominated for the Hugo Award Best Editor Short Form. I was the first African to be nominated for the Hugo Award Best Editor categories at all. I was the first African to be nominated for the Hugo Award Best Novelette. And I was the first African-born Black writer to be nominated for the Hugo Awards at all. The first Black person coming from the continent. It's an amazing honor, but they are first. And I don't think they should be in this day and age, because there are lots of brilliant writers on the continent and around the world doing amazing work, even in the US, like S.B. Divya.
Yes.
And most of these awards have not been won by lots of non-white people, and most of these categories haven't been won by Black people or even had Africans nominated. So we talk about diversity a lot, but it shows that there's still a lot more work to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have loved to see a win. I'd love to see a win for diversity.
Well, you keep it up, man. And with the amount of nominations that you've been getting, it's just a matter of time, I think.
Yeah, I was also the first person of color to be nominated for both fiction and editing categories in the same year. I think only 4 people have had that honor, and I'll be the first person of color to be. So, yeah, hopefully there's more of that.
So, like, being the first person for all of these things, does that fuck with your head at all?
Yeah, sometimes.
I mean, it's just unbelievable the number of glass ceilings that you're shattering right now. It's great. It's great.
I'm shattering them with my head.
So with WorldCon going to China next year, and finally breaking out of the white parts of the world. I think it's fair to ask if you can see it ever heading to the African continent, maybe sooner than later. And, what countries in Africa do you think would be good contenders?
Uh, I wouldn't be able to say much on that. I mean, I definitely would love to see it go to the continent. I think I've seen mention of an Egypt WorldCon bid. But the truth is that I've traveled on the continent just as little as I've traveled around the world generally outside it. So, travel is still as limited, still as difficult on the continent as it is outside. I think it's a throwback to it's something we picked up with, how the world is demarcated and run by borders, and it's something we've not worked out. So I haven't done a lot of traveling, and but I think South Africa might be a good place.
Mm-hmm.
Egypt as well might not be bad. Yeah, so that's but it would definitely be an improvement because the the hassle I had to go through, I think it would be preferable, even if the issues of border and bureaucracies are still as tough. At least I'll be traveling a shorter distance, and I might be outside the reach of nefarious death threat sending parties. I think a WorldCon on the continent would be great.
Well, here's the hope, and if it ever goes to Africa, if it ever goes to Egypt or South Africa, man, I'm gonna have to pull some money out of somewhere because that'll be my excuse. You know what I
It would
mean?
be an experience, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's
I
something.
think it would be fun for lots of people in the West to, travel out of their comfort zone,
Yes,
and see, the other side of the world.
I agree with you.
And the funny thing is that it would still be easier. It wouldn't still
Mhm.
be, the same hassle as us coming over there because, of course, the American passport confers a lot of privilege on the holder. So, yeah, but it would at least be an experience.
Absolutely. I think Americans need that experience because a lot of Americans, outside the country is like Canada, which is like America Part Two. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Well, I really hope WorldCon starts moving around a little bit more. I know I have a friend in Mexico who would really love to see it in Mexico City someday. So, if anybody at WorldCon is listening to this, or maybe someone from Mexico City, take that under advisement. Let's start seeing WorldCon out there in the world, right? A little bit more.
yeah.
But thanks so much for coming on again, Chebwe. I appreciate your time, and yeah, it's been great talking to you again.
Yeah, same here. Thanks. Thanks for doing this.